Hello, hello. Welcome back. Or welcome for the first time if you happen to be a new listener. Perhaps you are joining today because you are sick of your job and you want to be inspired, get a little idea or get a little push to take your first step. Maybe you're in the throes of starting your first business and you're juggling that and a 9-to-5. And you're looking for ways to improve your mindset, improve how you approach your business. I assure you, wherever you kind of are on that spectrum, you will get something from today's episode. I should also apologize because we missed last week's episode. I was away in Egypt and I was sick. And sometimes life be like that, you know. So we missed last week's episode, but I wanted to give it my full and undivided so I could publish it and do it right. And as for who we have on today's episode, I'm going to introduce you to Aaron now. So Aaron Knightley has his own events business. He has his own investment firm. He is a podcast host. He is a YouTuber, and he has a cool 400,000 TikTok followers. And what should you expect in the episode is his thoughts on why you should work as little as possible if you're still in a day job, why you should value time freedom over financial freedom, why the grass is greener on the other side of being in a 9-to-5, and then how you can work with Aaron to actually start that journey of exiting your 9-to-5 and creating maybe your first business. Now, before I send you into this interview, you will see throughout this that Aaron has some divisive quotes, some that might even trigger you. You might even get a little bit pissed off by them. And I should say before you go in and listen to these, that the intention when I record an episode like this, I book the studio, I go in, I prepare for hours beforehand. I think of ways to extract useful information from the guests and all that prep. And my intention is not to go in and use that hour that I've paid for and prepared for to battle somebody over specific points that they make when they're trying to make a broader point. And if you feel annoyed by some of the things that Aaron says, just remember, you don't have to agree with everything that somebody says in order to learn from them. Try and remember that this is designed to help you. So agree with him, disagree with him, whatever. You can definitely take something from him. So in a moment, I'm going to put you into the interview of Aaron and I in the studio. I'm going to come in at the end of the episode, recap it a little bit, and tell you what I think you should take with you on your day. And I hope you enjoy.
And he literally picked it up. Yeah, it was luck.
Sick.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah, he picked it up and it was luck.
So let's get into it. We have an oddly similar journey, you and I, both of us being in the world of property and then sort of segueing into wanting to help people quit their job. But I have loads I want to get into, by the way, loads of stuff I want to get into. But I want to start with, what was the turning point for you whereby that became an important mission to you?
Just having my son. That was like, the wake up moment really was when I was turning 20. My son was also, coming into my life at that point. So, think about it. 20 years old and you have a child, a lot of people, and I did, you go, oh my God, I'm young to have a child. But actually, I think for some people, there's two sides to that. Is it makes you, or perhaps it puts a pressure on you that you didn't want. Whereas actually it was a healthy pressure for me, and it was perspective. And I had that wide view angle of, God, you've got a lot of attributes, but you need to really focus and get some direction. And I really went on that journey of getting direction, but I had like my fire, and that was my son. So my son is the result of what I do today.
Wow. Yeah. I feel like it just takes some big event like that for a lot of people.
I do. I've learned now, as I'm getting older, I've realised that humans will only do things when there's consequences. Really interesting. I was with my friend Jason Greystone the other day, and we were talking about health and stuff like this. And he was talking about being proactive. He was trying to, he was doing something with a doctor, and he was going through prevention rather than waiting for things, getting checks, blood, stuff like this, right? And that's what you should do. Prevention rather than the whole, oh my God, something's happened, now I've got to act. And I find this weird because most humans will only change and implement something that's needed when they've been told it's nearly too late. Mm-hmm. And I find that interesting. And I think, having a child for me was really like, Aaron, you've got a lot to give, knuckle down and put it in the right direction. And I suppose with built-in discipline, if you will, it served me quite well having a son early. So, yeah.
That just made me think about, the way some people, a lot of people actually, when they're in a job or let's say circumstances, it's like not quite bad enough for them to make some sort of change.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people just need something like that.
Oh gosh, this one, comfort zone, isn't it? People again won't make a change until it gets so bad. And even at that point, when you are talking about being in a rut in a job, I think the problem is in a job where they become dependent on the income. I think it's different for your personal life and your professional life. I think it's two different outcomes. You end up becoming dependent on the income, but you've lost confidence, you've been suppressed, and your self-esteem gets lowered. So you feel now, not only are you dependent on the job, you can't go anywhere else. And that's what I see a lot of, is like people are like, but I can't leave, I can't get another job. They convince themselves that there's no other jobs out there. And there are always options. And this is where obviously I have very strong opinions. There's always options and choices. So I struggle with it, but I get it.
What do you see as some of the most common reasons that people will stay tolerating that?
They don't have money. That's it. I talk about this on my lives. This is probably 80% of my content. People will go through depression, anxiety, midlife crisis. They'll be regretful. They'll argue with their partner. They worry about bills.
Yeah.
All because of money.
Yeah.
You don't worry. The best way I can explain this, for anyone that's suffering mentally with some form of an issue in the workplace, if I was to put £100,000 in your bank, you'd never go into your workplace and be spoken to like an idiot, because you have financial comfort to go, I haven't got to be here. Yeah. Why am I going to let you talk to me like this when I've got money in the bank? Mm. That's the difference. So that was my thing. And I try to teach everyone that I work with is that it starts with you, the person. Build the confidence, understand your values and standards to what you want to live to, and then, my God, start looking after your money. That's at the core of everything. If you've got money, you don't worry. Money does make you happy. It really does. Unless you come from money. I haven't come from money.
The financial transition seems to be the biggest blocker that I see all the time. I chat to somebody and I'm like, hey, they'll tell me they don't like their job and they hate it. I'm like, well, why don't you tip over a domino and try and get something going? Oh, well, I don't have money coming in then.
Yeah. So it does start with, I get it, by the way. When people
it's scary,
say,
right? Because financial stress, I've said this before in a couple of episodes, that there's nothing quite as daunting and scary and all-encompassing as financial stress.
Yeah.
It's scary, right?
Of course, worrying about your bills, you buy into the media, the cost of living. The problem is there's two sides to this coin, is that when you have bad relationships with money, it typically starts from the parents. So I always say, if you are a parent and you have children, I feel that it's a massive responsibility for you to teach your children. Big, bold statement. My son is 11. He's in year 7. He doesn't need to be at school now. It's pointless. He probably will be pulled out early. If he was to have trouble at school, I will just pull him out. He will never go back to school. He's great at networking. He's kind. He's very creative. He's entrepreneurial. He understands money. He can read and he can write. What else is school going to teach him now? It's not. It's what dad's going to teach him now. Mm-hmm. And he doesn't need to be at school. So I have no problem in paying the fines and pulling him out of school or whatever. It's down to the parenting. So that the lack of money and the insecurity and the lack of education, unfortunately, it does fall on parents because the schools aren't teaching it. But the problem is when you don't know about money, and you watch the news and you have a very you have this inability to apply what I call self-mastery. You blame everything else. Cost of living, well, that's why I haven't got any money. It's the government, that's why I haven't got any money. It's the taxes, that's why I haven't got any money. Mm-hmm. It's Keir Starmer, it's Biden, it's Trump, it's Jeff Bezos. Those are the reasons why I haven't got any money. Mm-hmm. I don't need to know about money because it's very obvious it's everyone else's fault. No, it's not. It's your poor habits. So I understand that people don't have education, so there's a huge part on the parenting, but at the same time, we are in a blame culture where it's everyone else's fault. And that's where I've separated myself.
It's easier to blame someone else, right?
Of course it is. We are in a world of victim mentality. I think it's always easier because then you haven't got to take responsibility for it. But I feel that really does lead to misery.
There's something so empowering about taking responsibility, right? Because I don't know if you've probably seen Jocko Willink on a couple of podcasts, right? And he talks about extreme ownership. And he talked about it in the lens of he was on the battlefield and something went wrong with his team. And he went to speak to his executives and they asked what went wrong in the battlefield. And now, obviously, he could have pointed to A, B, and C soldier, but he didn't. He said, it was my fault. I didn't brief them. And I just think that if we all took a little bit of that, it's very empowering. Because all of a sudden it's in your power to change it, right?
Yeah, it is. And I think also you need to limit what you're exposed to. So I think people are too open to what's going on around them, but not actually what they're doing. I feel that people are more reactive. General people who worry about life and consume a lot, I feel that they're very reactive, not proactive. It irritates me when people say, oh, I've got some bad news for you. Well, it's just news. I'll decide whether it's bad or not. And because of the person that I am, I'm going to have to solve it anyway. So it's just news. But we instantly think it's bad news. Tell me it's just news, because either way I can do one of two things. I can complain about it or I have to solve the problem. And I think that's what we learn, right? Is every day I'm just solving problems. That's really what a business owner or an entrepreneur is just solving problems and how thick your skin is and how resilient you can be to overcome some really hard problems. And yeah, your life becomes really good where you just own all of it. And also it gives you clout. Like I get good views and I trigger people and I get what's called push and pull content because I just say it, because I've lived and breathed every moment of it. So no one can take it away from me.
You do. You walk the walk, in fairness to you. Like you have, you know, because a lot of people talk online and you can kind of see through it. You can kind of tell, I don't know, I don't fancy that person.
Yeah.
But I see your stories, I see your content, and you know, you are getting up at 5. You are going to the gym. You are doing it all.
Yeah, I try. Look, I put myself through everything. I'm incredibly disciplined. No one tells me what to do. I do exactly what I want. Even if people have said to me, "Oh, I don't think you should do it," I'll do it anyway, because what will happen is I'll have a little niggle, and then I'll think, "You stop me from doing that." And that's where, and this is a midlife crisis, is where people get to a point and they're like, "I should have done it." Or I should have taken that risk, or I shouldn't have listened to that person. I don't suffer with any mental health issues. I've never had a panic attack. I think it's so overrated. I don't have ADHD. I'm not looking for a title. Oh, it's true. And it's just because I've done everything that I've wanted to do. I've not worried about what other people think.
Have you ever?
Not really. What's the point?
You've never dealt with that?
No, I'm not doing anything illegal. I've not done anything that's morally wrong. I don't really give a monkeys, to be honest with you. And that's what's resulted in 290 million views in the last 24 months. So, or over 300 if you combine. But I just focus on me, and if you take 100% responsibility, your life is just really cool, in my opinion.
So you had your kid, your son.
Yeah.
That was when you were 20, and then you kind of went on this path, and then it kicked you into gear, and then you find yourself here now, before me, on a similar mission to me. Well, not similar, I would say the exact same. We're trying to help people to realize that, hey, look, it doesn't have to be this way. You actually can turn the tides and do something else. Do you know, I've saw you mention Gallup studies before as well.
Yeah.
Do you know what the figure is for employee disengagement globally?
I have seen, I've gone through a lot of them, so I know more specifics, but I know the latest update in terms of the UK survey, which is now, it's gone from 85% to a 90%. So it went from about 43 million UK working adults that do not want to be in their job. It's around about 48 million now. Again, it's money. It's money.
It's crazy,
man. Everything comes down to money.
It's very sad, because you talked about regret.
Yeah.
When you're older, having not made the change. Like, how many of those 48 million will get to the end and be like, I kind of just stuck around tolerating that?
Do you know a funny little test, right? For anyone listening, to really understand how time is so important, talk to any old person and start to ask for advice. I bet any money however you navigate that conversation, it will always come back to one thing, and it will be, if I could go back in time, or if I had more time. And this is the thing, I'm hyper aware. I had a great conversation on our last online event with Carrie Green, who's a self-made female millionaire. She started the Female Entrepreneur Association. And she was just like me. She was talking about, I take myself to the worst case scenario. So for example, again, humans won't change their lives, in my opinion, unless it's too late or they've been told that they're going to suffer severely. Before that ever happens, I take myself to the worst case scenario. Aaron, do you have enough money to leave the country and feed your family if the UK goes to pot? Not far off. So I've got to play that scenario. So then I reverse engineer, okay, what have I got to do now as young as possible? Aaron, Coy, you must have been so boring in your 20s. Well, that's ironic because you're still working like 60 hours a week. I just kind of piddle about, to be honest with you, doing what I want. And I've automated most of my stuff at 32 years old. I've gone to the worst case scenario. Aaron, why do you save so much? Well, when I was out hiking with my son and I saw these lumps on his neck and I thought they were tumours, I just panicked. I can get him into the Priory or the Montefiore straight away. Oh, what, you pay for private medical care? Yes, because I'm not prepared to be told I've got to wait 6 weeks for my son or anyone in my family to develop lumps. Prevention. So you go to the work. Aaron, why do you train twice a day like an absolute beast? Why do you eat clean? Because you're so boring, you track your macros. I'm fasting as we speak because my abs are pretty ripped right now. But, but it's the truth, because I want to be able to do a Tough Mudder with my son when I'm 50 years old.
Sure.
I'm preventing problems. Well, Aaron, you could get hit by a bus tomorrow. Well, it's unlikely because I'm an adult and look both ways. But if I do, I'm not going to know about it.
And this is kind of like, I had this chat with my friends recently about Alex Hormozy and how he is like, and he's David Goggins. You might put David Goggins in the same breath of like super extreme, right? And it's the key thing is, for me at least, is it's not for everyone. You don't have to just be military strict. Maybe you could just be a bit stricter on your diet. Maybe you could just save a little bit more. You don't have to be this person that you follow online, but the principles, there's a lot to be said for them, right?
Yeah, this is why I struggle with excuses, because when I've said this on a lot of podcasts, but it's like the hook, it's like the clickbait, right?
It's clicky, yeah.
Is the cost of living crisis does not exist. Now, people get all fired up and they get pumped by it, but really, when I sit down with people and I go, okay, cool, right, you're complaining that your gas and lecky's gone up, whatever, right? You can't afford to get your white lightning or whatever, right? But the point is, if you go over the last 100 years and look on a Google chart of financial charts, you've seen that it's done this. Like, we all have access to Google. So why haven't you looked? Oh, well, I didn't know to look. Right, it's not my problem. But the point I'm making is, it still stands. You knew that there were dips over the last 100 years. You can go back over the last 200 years. You know that there's rocky parts, there's corrections, there's lows, there's highs. It's the way the market goes. It's never going to change. So why haven't you saved? Well, it's because we're in a No, we're not in a cost of living crisis. You've just been really bad with money, and like, a lot of the answers are there. I've got skin cancer. Right, well, boo-hoo. I'm sorry to hear it, but you should have put sun cream on. I just don't care. Like, honestly, when people moan, I just don't. I don't surround myself with people who complain. I can't get out my job. Right, how much do you earn a year? 27 grand. I'll find you a job. Give me an hour, I'll find you a job. It comes down to whether you like the title or not.
It's just often a little bit easier to point externally and say it's because of that, and it's not because of me. And man, I'm sure you've done it before. I've done it before. I mean, I still notice that in my behavior sometimes. It's like this little weed sometimes that I have to root out, the blame reflex or blame muscle. Yeah. I would have done it, but that it's so subtle. I wonder where that comes from.
I think maybe
you just don't want to be wrong.
Ease, not denial. You don't really want to admit it. I mean, you say, have I been there? Of course I've been there, maybe on smaller things. But, even I'm thinking of certain moments when I played high-level football. There was an incident in the locker room once, and I remember when the big director came in, and he said, who did that? I was about 11 or 12. I put my hand up and said, I did it. Not thinking about the repercussions, I just put my hand up and said, yeah, I did it. And I was just willing to. That's the way I've been brought up. My mum and dad were very like that. So I think that's helped me. And my mum and dad were very ruthless in terms of, own it. Like if you've done it, don't shy away from it. And I think I've adopted that. But yeah, going into education more, I definitely have seen society as a whole, especially with doing more content, especially with the comments that come in daily. I have seen and been exposed that, yeah, everyone's looking for an scapegoat. They don't want to take it. But that's why there are two types of people: successful and distracted people who want to blame. Like there is no in between. I've figured that out. There are those who can do it and there are those who can't.
I think obviously we're all born equal and we all can, I believe, and I saw Simon Squibb say this as well, like I do believe that every single person can own their own business.
Yeah.
And I seen you also talk about how you don't need to be Elon Musk. You can just have a business that pays you the same as your job did, right? That's a good life.
Yeah.
But I do believe everyone can do that. And I think you mentioned there about people on this side where they're blaming and the people on this side who are successful. It must just start at an early age, like a behavior trait that they develop. And that, to use my sentence a moment ago, the blame muscle, like, it's because of this. Going back, I want to go back to you when you actually had a job, by the way. I just want to circle back there.
Yeah.
Because I think about when I was in a 9-to-5 and I kind of looked around the room and I used to just think, is everyone, because it was a great job.
Yeah.
It's like on the surface, I was getting paid good money, free snacks in the office, free beers on the Friday, like, all that shit. But the whole time I was like, this work, the thing I do for 8 hours, I dislike it a lot. And I'd look at other people in the room and be like, are you guys like pretending? Are we all pretending to like this?
Yeah.
And I saw you said in your video as well, you always wanted to leave. And I was like, yeah, I did too. Like, what was that like for you when you were working in that environment and you were surrounded by those people who were also there?
Yeah, I knew when I was in employment, I was never going to be working for someone else. I just knew in my bones. And because I liked making money, and money was an escape for me. When you grow up and you don't have just disposable income from your parents, or your parents haven't been in business, so I just knew that I liked making money because it allowed me to do what I've always wanted to. Again, I was just saying, I like doing what I want to do when I want to do it with who I want to do it with, and I don't like being told you can't do it. I was never comfortable, and I quote this a lot, I've never been comfortable asking another adult for a day off. It actually baffles me that you have to go, excuse me, can I have a day off?
Is there any chance?
What?
Yeah.
Like, what? That's always kind of like bugs me, or having a phone call while you're on the toilet. Are you coming back to your desk? Yes, once it's departed. Like, I'll be back when I'm done. Like, I don't want to. How am I having to justify myself to when I. Anyway, right, and there's a chili con carne story. I won't go into it, but. Now, about my canteen break. But yeah, I just knew. So I applied self-mastery. Again, I teach a lot of my sort of members who work within my circles now. It's called self-mastery. No one needed to tell me. I was just hyper aware. When I was in a job and I was looking around and I was doing these 10 hours, I was very productive. I always had like an AirPod in, or I was doing like my work when I could and on the phone, and I was just making strides as and when I could. I just never told anyone. I don't know why some people need to be told, by the way, you're going to go on this journey of building a business. It's incredibly hard. Get prepared to work for the next 2 years, 3 years in the weekends and the bank holidays. You will not have a life. There's going to be no balance, because people say, is there balance? No, there's no balance. Put two people on a seesaw. Do you ever see it dead still? It's never, right? So I just never told anyone. I just went in. I always saved heavily. The money that I was earning, that I started to earn, I was cash stacking because my job was paying my bills, so I was floating financially. And then I was getting to a point where I was like, I'm getting quite a lot of money in an account right now that's sitting there. I don't need to put up with anything. And then I became a pain.
How much did you have saved?
By 24, I'd done more than six figures by 24.
Solid.
And I don't spend money on clothes. I didn't finance a car. I was driving a little crappy Ford Fiesta at the time. Then I drove a little Ford KA as well. So I was turning up to work when I could have afforded a nice car, but I wasn't. So no one was none the wiser. No one was really clued up. And I didn't trust my co-workers. And people go, oh, God, you must have insecurity issues. No, I've got it. No, like, I'm level-headed. And it annoys me when people turn around and go, but you spend more time with them than your family. Yes, I'm not and I'm not happy with that, by the way. Like, you're saying that like that's normal. I'm not okay with the fact that, yes, I have to see your mug more than I do my family. I'm trying to get out. I was not normalizing that. I was never prepared to normalize that. So I just had self-mastery in my last job, and I was just grinding and working every hour until I was able to replace my income.
Like, how many of those people in that job, if given the chance, if you said to them, hey, look, tomorrow I'm going to give you the same amount of money and it's going to be coming from a business that you own, would you still do the job?
No, none of them. No, they'll be gone. They'll be gone.
Never.
They'd all be gone. No one wants to be a sheep.
You also said, I'm going to read one of your quotes here. You have some divisive quotes. I can see how you might get a bit of a ruffle from people, but I'm going to read this one. This one's a bit soft, okay? So, you are an expense on an expense sheet, and at the end of the year, they'll decide whether to keep you or not, depending on the company's profit and loss.
Everyone's a number. Last one in, first one out. You are just a number. You can have 4 or 5 promotions, you'll be replaced. You can serve 10, 15 years. You pee someone off, new manager comes in that's above you, they don't like you. You're out the door, you'll be managed, you'll be put on a pip, and it's the beginning of the end. Shock, horror, and bad news for anyone. As soon as you go on a performance review, you're going to be out. Whether it's within a month or 6 months. If you are put on a performance review, they are not bothered about you getting better. That is a legal way for them to start the process of you departing.
And when you say this to people, it gets this defensive reaction. But if you actually think about what the structure of a business is, there's a hierarchical system at play here, and the person at the top needs certain things to happen, and you've been brought in to do that thing.
Yeah.
They will make it seem like they care about you, and they will try and almost distract you, with the nice office, and here's a little bit of time, take a mental health day, all that. But they're only doing that so you come back in on Monday.
It's a front. It's all a front. I spoke about it most recently on my TikTok, and I frequently talk about it, but you go into a job interview and you're meant to be a dum-dum. Like, you can't talk about how creative you are and entrepreneurial, and that you've got a lot of outside the box sort of ideas, and that you're here to be inspired and motivate and influence other people and to operate at a higher level so that you climb as quick as you can, and you'd love to get to director level. You can't say that in a job interview. They don't want that. That's not what they want to hear, and typically you won't get the job. So isn't it weird how most people subconsciously are aware, whether they address it in their head or not, they just know, go in and say what the job is and that I can do it very well. And they'll decide, are you robotic enough? And you're not outspoken.
Yeah.
And then whether you'll get the job or not. And which is why they found it really hard to get rid of me. I could tell as soon as they found out. So it was about 3 weeks before I left. I actually had a friend come down to me who I'm still friends with today. He's very much same level-headed as me. And he said, just to let you know, mate, I've just come through the office. They're all on your website and your YouTube. I was like, interesting, because on my Apple Watch, I just had a geocode notification to say that my website had gone on by a new user. So I get like a little notification. I said, interesting. He said, yeah, so just be aware they're looking at your YouTube. Oh, and I had just a few videos at that point, and my website had just been sort of, but it comes back to this whole, now they're like, let's stop all investment into Aaron. Mm-hmm. He hasn't progressed for the last 6 years. He's not interested, and he's always the guy in the meeting room to say, I'm not doing it.
He's a liability. We want him out because he's not doing what we need him to do.
Yeah, and he's not willing to bend over, and he's not willing to play this game. And I was a pain.
I had the thing is, I did look. The only thing that actually kept me sane and all that was the individuals I worked with, the bosses I had, the managers. I actually really liked everyone I worked with. It was just the system itself, the work I was doing. It repelled me, and I was like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to have to be fucking scroll my mouse at 9:30 and just I'm online. Fuck that. I'm happy to do work. I want to apply myself to something, but having to say certain things and be a certain way, it just, to me, that bothered me because
Yes. No, I just wanted to say that I think the thing is, when you're exposed to entrepreneurship, it's very hard to continue in a workplace. This is the diagram. I wish, imagine this. You've got the bottleneck of an upside down pyramid and then normal shaped pyramid, right? And it goes into a point. What you have is like a pyramid, which is the workplace, and then reverse a pyramid, flip it upside down, and that's entrepreneurship. So you start very acute, but then you go wide and limitless and opportunity and collaboration, and you expand, and it goes wider and wider, and it never really stops, and it can just become everything that you want it to be. Whereas you fall into a bottleneck, everything becomes very tight. And when I closed up my laptop on the last day of work, I called down the biggest boss and I said, I need a chat, I'm leaving. And she was like, you what? Like, giving it the whole, oh, you what? You don't give a shit. Like, let's cut the crap, right? And I said, I think you know that I do some stuff outside of work. And she was like, yeah. I said, I'm now at the point where I can't face any of you anymore who are talking to each other disrespectfully. The politics is awful. I enjoyed the job. That's the thing. I was there a while. Everyone left me alone. I was not bothered. But I said, I can't continue listening to people get micromanaged. You're weeding people out. And the fact that it's so hyper competitive and you're all backstabbing and you turn on each other in a moment. I said all this to her. And I said, yeah, I'm working with people who are now becoming dear friends of mine who are doing 100, 200, 300 million. And they are so embracing of ability and change and positivity and support and ambition. And I said, I can't keep coming in here. And I said, and I don't normally throw numbers out there, I said, and I earn more than you. And you're the highest person on. I said, you had no idea. You'd have no idea the money that I'm bringing in. Because I'm so humble about it. Sort of upper lip at that point, you're throwing money into it. Yes, because you'll talk down to someone because you're on 90k a year. Me, I get on with freaking everyone. You haven't got a clue about my finances. Anyway, they all watch me on TikTok now and they all watch from afar, ironically. But yeah, that description of wide and limitless.
I love that.
The higher you go up, there is a point, so it does end at some point, and then it's like dangerously competitive, and it's situational as well. Who wants to do that? I was at the bottom. I just stayed at the wide base at the bottom, and they didn't like it.
You know who I feel sorry for the most is management. Somebody who's been sort of sold this carrot, this dangled carrot at the end, being like, well, you can work up to manager and you can get an extra 10k a year, and then you're in further. And then at that point, you might be in your late 30s. And at that point, guess what? You have your second kid on the way.
Yeah.
And then you've got the bill, and the bills are higher. And it's just, at that, I feel sorry for the people in management because they've been sold this lie so much. And then it's so hard. How can you turn around then? I mean, they can. Like we said, you've got people who make excuses and people who, have results.
Yeah. But
the managers, man. Fuck.
It is. I think some people are shafted, and then I think some people actually enjoy the whole ego boost of it all. I use I've done many pieces of content which have done millions of views around the whole barbecue scenario, but where the barbecue scenario of telling people what you do, that came from actual a time where I was at a barbecue and I just knew this one guy was just dying to tell everyone what he did. It's like, dude, you're preaching to the wrong crowd. Like, I don't care that you're a general manager and you're on like £42,000 a year. Like, Shania Twain don't impress me much, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is the problem. They get so attached to a title, they become so over-invested, their time and life passes, and they're just going up in increments of $5,000, $6,000, $2,000 bonus at the end of the year. And they're so sort of in this...
and that's great, right? That's like apparently great.
Yeah, apparently. And some people are very happy with that. But ultimately, I don't feel they're pushing themselves. And this is where I feel that we're leaving so much on the table, which is what bothers me as a human being, is that imagine getting to an age where you're not physically able to push yourself. You're not able to run that race. You're not able to do that Tough Mudder. You can't climb Snowdon. You're never going to earn $100,000 now because time's getting on and you left so much on the table, which is why when people say to me, Aaron, how many reps do you do at the gym? I don't. I do it till it really hurts. I keep going. And like Muhammad Ali said it about sit-ups, he was asked like, how many sit-ups do you do? He was like, I only stop when it like is killing me. And I feel it's the same in the workplace. People are so sucked in with $46,000 a year. They're chuffed.
One of the things you said there that stood out was like, I feel almost guilty bringing this subject up sometimes because a lot of people actually are very happy in that. And when I think about like the message I'm sharing, and again, it's the same as yours, I'm very conscious not to make people who are enjoying themselves and who do feel settled and happy feel bad, because they're not like necessarily less than for doing that. Because I think ultimately what all of us really want in life is to be a part of a tribe, be loved and accepted, feel a sense of security, and go to sleep at night not wondering if I'm going to be killed. You know, the basic kind of fundamental stuff. And I feel I'm very conscious of walking that line of when I speak to somebody about what I do. But I believe most people really do feel that way. I believe most people are wondering most days that this is bollocks.
Yeah. See, this is where probably my content, I don't give a monkeys if I upset people. I don't give a flying hoot. And do you know why I'm quite happy to address it? And I don't care if people are like, oh, you're making me... I don't give a monkeys if you feel bad. Man up. Like, get a grip.
What if they love it though? What if they love what they're doing?
If they love it, see, so I don't give a monkeys in saying it. If they love it, they should be secure enough in themselves that it doesn't bother them. Like I'd listen to someone and go, fair enough. Don't bother me. You can think what you want. I love my job. I wouldn't give a, he's got a point, but it don't bother me because I'm secure. And if it didn't really bother him, it wouldn't affect him. Someone is only emotionally triggered.
That's true.
When there's a niggle.
You're right.
If someone came up to me and went, dude, guess what? I've just made £1 million in a month. I wouldn't be bothered because I know my number. Like I know what I need every month to be happy. But at the end of the day, if someone's earning £1 million and they came up to me, I wouldn't feel insecure about it because £1 million to what I earn now, all that means is that I could probably spend more in a day than what I can now. But I've still got the same life. I could still travel to London. I could still mope about and do whatever. But I'm totally content because again, why am I content though? Well, the sequence of that is I've always done what I wanted and I've always done it with my values and standards. So if someone was to say just done £1 million or, I met some city boy and he was like, just turned over. I don't care. But I'm happy for you, but it don't bother me.
I've noticed that about people who are doing something. It's never people who are actually doing something that will say something negative or who are making money themselves, let's say. Like, for example, when you said that to me there, immediately my mental reaction was to the guy who told me he's just made $1 million. I'd be like, fuck yeah. Fair play to you.
Yeah,
that's sick.
Yeah, I love it. And I do love it when people turn around to me and they're like, oh man, just had one of the best months. Jason sent me not too long ago. He was like, dude, just had one of the best months. And he did like 196,000 in a month.
That's sick.
And Jason's done very well financially, but I have other friends that, one of my close friends called Michael Howard, like his company does like over 300 million a year, and like when he's turning over, I'm see him in London very soon. I was going to try and go to him today, but I can't just because of time. But you see his office, cafe, like in his office, barista walking about, 200 people on the office floor near the Shard. I'm loving it. I'm like, dude, I just want you to make hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of millions because I know my standards, I know my values, and I know what makes me happy. And my flex is time. Like I like to have money to the point where if I wanted to go and get something, I could. Mm-hmm. But I like to be able to do what I want. My life is home, gym, London. That's it. I'm pleased as punch, mate. I'm happy.
You know what, as well, just to go back to what you said about that guy who's earning millions and like has his little cafe set up and everything. You know what I've noticed about people who are like super wealthy?
Yeah.
Soundest people you've ever met.
Yeah.
Dead sound.
Oh, this is something else I try to correct for people. You say to someone that you've made a lot of money, they think you're miserable and you're like Scrooge.
Yeah.
Are you divorced? No, I'm not.
Yeah.
But you must be unhappy. No, I'm like incredibly happy.
Yeah.
Really? Well, there must be a flaw in your life because rich people, you've stolen. That's what it is. You've stolen your money.
You're up to something.
Robin Hood hasn't caught up with you. No, all legit. Made all of it. Oh, fuck. Anyway, I can't talk. Go back to my job.
You know what I just thought there? It's because, in that moment, they're immediately insecure.
Yes.
And they're like, shit, well, it must be something else. It must be something negative.
There must be something negative to you having money. And like I say, on a lot of my content, if you've come from no money, money makes you happy. I don't argue at home. I don't watch the news or anything like that. But when I'm filling up my car, I'm not like... oh bollocks. Yeah. Oh jeez, I've gone over by 2p. I literally just go in,
fuck
me, this is taking forever.
Yeah.
All right, there we go. And off I go to the gym again.
And you just won't get that in working in employment. It's just, there is such a ceiling. Like, yes, I love that analogy of the pyramid, by the way. But I want to tell you something funny, right? So, and this only happened yesterday, and I was like, I'm going to bring this up to Aaron. So my girlfriend, her friend, was in a job, or is in a job, right? She's on a meeting. She gets on the meeting and she says, "Oh, the traffic was crazy today," right? Regular enough sentence there, nothing striking, right? Her manager pulls her aside. I was like, "Hey, sorry, can you just not really say sentences like that? That would affect the mentally ill." And I was like, yeah. We're getting pulled up for saying the word crazy.
Yeah. It's, I mean, this is, oh gosh, we could go another way with this, but this is the other problem. You have to fit within what's acceptable. And obviously where there's certain rules and regulations now and what you can and politically can't say, you have to fit in. Again, that puts extra mental stress on people that just want to be themselves. I think the other thing is as well is it's nice not to be a character. Again, I think if someone said to me, "Why do you talk with such passion, or you're not bothered about what people say?" I'm not pretending to be anyone. Like, I am, probably what you've seen in my content, I am what I am here. Like, I don't pretend to be anyone, and it's quite nice because I can get home at the end of the day and I haven't pretended to be someone I'm not. I'm just me the whole way through, and I'm fully aware and I'm okay that people will be insecure, people will be judgmental, but my skin is now thick enough to accept it, which is why I can accept other things. Like I said, if someone said something to me which would affect someone else, I'm not bothered. Also, I think there's something to be said for creating a very strong productivity bubble, or they call it like box life. But I say productivity bubble because I've really only got 3 things in there. But, they call it box life. Like Jay Cutler said, why was I the best Mr. Olympia? Why did I have the best shoulders? Because my life was literally in a box. Gym, food, I never missed a meal, and my training and building out my brand. I never left my box. So I became an expert at something that I love doing, and no one distracted me. I love that. I love the fact that I don't really go out much. I love it. No one interferes. I don't listen to people about their next tumour that they've got or the uncle that's just died. I'm not bothered. I don't want to hear it. I just like doing me, and it keeps me at peace.
Yeah.
I live in such a bubble. I love it.
And sometimes you probably just need to step away from whatever sort of conveyor belt you're on in order to, let's face it, achieve any sort of moderate success at all.
Yeah.
And just going back to this, obviously the theme and the things we keep bouncing back to here is like the monotony of a 9 to 5, the having to be a certain way, and how widespread it is. How, like, most people will probably ascribe to that to varying degrees. And I saw a quote that I thought I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on. It says, "The education system is not broken. It's working exactly as it was designed to."
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's very true, isn't it?
It's good, isn't it?
I suppose, yeah. Well, it is, isn't it? It's doing the job. It's churning them out.
Right?
Which,
And, you might say, "Jesus, Dean, take off your tinfoil hat," but fuck me, that gave me pause when I thought about that.
Yeah, it is. And the thing is, you can't do anything about it. I think this is the other thing I've learned to accept, which is why I don't let anything come into my my bubble, is because I'm fully aware I can talk about it as much as, till the cows come home. We can both talk about it.
Sure.
But nothing's going to change. We can all street interview people. We can all go to universities and ask them, and we can all go into the Houses of Parliament, and things can be brought up, and you can campaign. It's never going to change. It's never going to change. So, again, I think it's a case of, it's a great talking topic. But I think also just being aware that talking about it's not going to do anything, which is why, again, I really stress that people just take action and actually focus on themselves. Be aware of all of this, but again, just don't get sucked up in it all. Like the education system, it's never going to change. I'm not going to change it, which is why also I'd be prepared to pull my son out literally today.
And that fact would probably leave a lot of people being like, "Jesus, that's crazy that he pulled his son out." But I mean,
well, listen to this. Let me just say this. My son the other day didn't want to go to school. He didn't go. Not bothered. Came to the gym with me.
That's an 11-year-old's dream.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't have to convince me that He didn't have to say, "Oh, my stomach's hurting." He was just like, "I really don't want to go today." Fair enough.
I wonder what it would look like if we just had Richard Branson at the head of the education system. How would it look?
Well,
That'd be cool.
it'd be cool. I'd quite, Simon Squibb was saying about going into Parliament. I'd vote for him. I'd help him campaign.
I saw him talk about that.
I'd get my followers behind him.
Yeah.
I'd love that. It's never going to happen though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he said he didn't want to play the political game, didn't he?
It will never happen. It's so deeply corrupt in this country. You can want all you want. You can want all you want, but it's never going to happen.
Yeah, and like the system is the system. It is what it is. People are, subject to it. But I think what we've touched on here is that you do have the agency to sort of step away, and you can complain about it and say it's shit, but you can actually do something about it.
Yeah.
And one of the things I've noticed is that people are, there's obviously the financial transition, which scares a lot of people, right? But I think people are just lacking in belief that they can do that.
Yeah.
And I saw Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? He got asked this question before. It said,
Jay Shetty. Yeah.
"What's your favorite piece of advice you've been given?" He says, "Believe in yourself."
Yeah.
I was like, fuck. That is, if Arnold Schwarzenegger is saying that,
yeah,
how powerful is belief?
Yeah, it is. I mean, that's something I've been very good at. I've never had a plan B either. I've never had a plan B. In anything I've ever done, I've gone all in, and I've never had a plan B. And I've been asked by my family before, what if it doesn't work out? I don't know then. I haven't got a clue. I'm not even going to think about that right now because I'm going all in. And it's worked. When I failed pretty fast, so I've got back up. I think rebound time is really good. But yeah, belief. But then how do you get self-belief? Very common question all the time on my live stream, which is why we did our recent event the other day called Dare to Dream, is because yes, people lack the belief. I think people know now that there's this accessibility to learn and all the resources. I think people are aware, like, if I wanted to, I do know that I have it, but is it right for me? Do I believe? Could it be possible? Could I be a millionaire? People doubt it. That all comes, and that can change in a moment from the people that you're around. Instantly, the people that you're around. Instantly, you can believe in absolutely anything. I come into London quite a lot. Every time I get into London Bridge or Victoria, I'm just like, there's money.
Few bob.
Oh, there's money. Well, I can't have a piece of the pie. Not after all of it, but I could have it. I just got to do what's necessary. And it's the belief. That's the hardest part, to change the person. But then it's the doing. That's where it's separate. That's where the selection phase, as they call it, comes in. It's the doing. That's the kiddie. But you've got to love the doing as well. Like, when people say, "Oh, do you ever get burnt out?" I think we're so easy just to go, "Yeah, well, I suppose I do get burnt." I'd never get burnt out. Never. I'd literally work every hour of every day. When you love it. It's only when I get home, and my partner or my son's like, "Oh, you're going to shut your laptop?" And I have boundaries, like certain days that I don't do anything. But honestly, if I was just on my own somewhere in the woods, I'd just work all the time. I just would never stop.
Yeah.
Because also there's this whole thing that annoys me, right? When people say, "Oh, but you need 8 to 10 hours sleep," it irritates the living crap out of me when people say,
"Why?
You need more sleep." It's just nonsense when people go, "Oh, but you'll get Alzheimer's." Yeah, I'm not. When I say sleep less and graft, right? Because I was sleeping like 4 hours a night when I was working a full-time job.
Serious?
And yeah, and like what I sent you when I was in my little cubby hole at home, I'd work my 10 hours and I got back like past midnight, and then I like stick in another 2.5 hours, 3 hours of work, and then go to sleep for like 3-4 hours, and then I'm up at the gym again.
Fair play.
I was fine. Like my dad can sleep for 15 minutes and he'll do like another 18 hours, and he'll have his neck like tilted over. People go, but you'll suffer with your health. Yes, if I was doing that for 18 years, but put it in for 2 to 3. No, I don't want to do that.
I think that's what I've been trying to preach, because like you said, somebody might listen to that, what you just said there about you'd work every single day, you'd work every single hour if you could, and they might be terrified about that. They might be turned off by that. And what I'm trying to at least say to people who I speak to is like, hey, look, you can be as all in as somebody like Hormozy or somebody like Aaron, but yeah, you're going to have to sacrifice, look, up front. Let's be real here. The first 1, 2, 3 years, you do kind of have to go all in, because you're probably going to have a job and, to work alongside and have a nice financial segue, you will have to do that. But you don't have to be a 24/7, 365 kind of guy or girl.
No. The other thing is as well, we need to remind people about starting a business. It doesn't mean limited company. It doesn't mean a warehouse. It doesn't mean an office. It doesn't mean tax advisor. It doesn't mean employees. It doesn't mean a bank loan. Laptop and a phone and Wi-Fi. That is a business. Like, again, I try to remind people, stop listening to baby boomers. We're not in the 80s and 90s. We're in 2024. Like, it's just time. You just need to put in time. Commit time. But again, people are like, working weekends.
But people don't know where to start, Aaron. People are like stuck at that phase. They know, like, well, a lot of people know that they want to leave. A lot of people know that if they stayed doing this for their whole life, they would absolutely hate it and they would regret it. But they don't know what the first, second and third steps are. And they're kind of stuck in this purgatory phase, like I said earlier, about tolerating it. And it's like just about manageable, but they don't know what to do.
Yeah. So the first few things that I would do is just 4 evaluations. All of my members go through it. Is your self-evaluation. We've kind of covered that off. That's really identifying. I know you're saying you want this. I want to win the lottery. I don't do the lottery, but I want to win the lottery, right?
Fuck yeah.
I want it. But the self-evaluation is kind of like, have you asked yourself all the necessary questions to say, yes, I'm in. I'm all in. Okay, that's done. Then there's the financial evaluation. Strip back all your finances, because what you want to do to get to a point of starting a business and replacing your income, it's not the income now, it's getting to the net number. So people might be earning $1,600 or $2,000 a month. They've become accustomed to that, but they probably don't need the full 2,000. They probably could live on 1,600, for example. Get to the net on that. Then it's your time evaluation. What do you do Monday to Monday? Cut out all the unnecessaries. Again, people will do that or they won't. And then it's your social evaluation. Am I hanging around with bums? Let me open up my WhatsApp. Who's motivating me? Who's on a similar journey? Or am I just sending memes of, cats jumping off of buildings and all this kind of stuff, and just stuff that is just dopamine stuff, right? Am I around winners? Once that's done, I would then just start backwards, turn off social media and benchmark what makes money and what is lean. And when I say lean, what makes you the most amount of money that you could do remotely from home, that you can operate and scale for the first 1 to 2 years on your own, acting as everyone and anyone in the business, and reverse engineer, and then try to find, as you're reverse engineering, some model that you like. Agency, video agency, editing, paid membership, full-time content creator, whatever it is, and then pick that thing and go all in for 24 months. And you'll be surprised. Did I think I was going to earn as much money as I did on TikTok? No, I've earned more money than I know what to do with on TikTok, and I'll continue to earn more money. But what was the difference? Was I driven by the money? No, because I didn't know it was going to come in the waves that it did, but I was committed. And even today, haven't missed a day of live streaming, haven't missed a day of multiple posting. Went all in. And as a result, I've done very well.
It's that delayed carrot, delayed gratification, that old adage that is thrown around a lot, but like when you actually understand it and you can live by it, things are good, right? So for example, with me, the stuff that I did 2 years ago for my business, it's coming good for me now. Like those relationships I formed, those calls I had that seemed like they were going nowhere. Yeah. They're now good for me. Yeah. And it's hard to see it at the time, man. You know this, right? It's hard.
Oh, yes. Patience, that's the thing. We don't have it anymore. I've had so many people come into my lives. I'm thinking of a few of them now where I remember meeting them and I had like this big vision and big plan, and I thought, I really want this to pull off, and I hope that they serve a purpose. And I suppose I had some form of an agenda, and maybe that was naivety and lacking the experience. And then you go away, you feel quite flat, but then 6 months later or a year later or even a couple of years later, they come back in and then it made sense, and you were like, that's why I put in the effort. Front loaded work with no pay up front and no expectation. That was patience, and then it pays off. And do you know what? I'll tell you what pays. Being nice. Being nice and not having a chip on your shoulder has served me very well. I can talk to I was on a Zoom call the other day with the Amstrad boys. We had such a laugh. These are guys that are well connected. Lord Sugar own company. I was with his grandson Joe Barron. They came down to our VIP event. And he looks just like Lord Sugar. I'm just being myself, and we really get on. Yeah. It's just because I'm being me. I'm just being nice. And I'm making sure that there's fair exchange as well. There's not a subconscious, I'm getting one under the table here.
Yeah.
It's
Simon
fair
Squibb talks
exchange.
about that a lot, like give without take.
Yeah, fair exchange. That's worked really well. But again, people want instant results. It's ironic, isn't it? People that do the lottery, it's because that week they want to win big. And it's funny because then when they win 50 quid, they're chuffed. They got that instant win. I won 50 quid. Yeah, but you spent 470 quid over the year. You haven't won, you've lost. It's mad.
I can relate to this though, because I remember when I started, I was
doing the lottery?
No, with my business, and I bought the course, right? I got sold the course with
Right.
Rob Moore, who I saw you had on your podcast.
Right,
I went through the Progressive Academy,
Yeah.
right? And, you know, look, let's say they're very good at selling courses.
Yeah.
You know, he'll tell you that himself, I'm sure. But from going through that funnel, my expectations were a little bit misaligned. I thought I was going to earn 10K in 6 months, you know.
Yeah.
And people do, I'm sure, and there's like, you know, unicorns that go through it.
Yeah.
But I had to really realign my expectations going through that. And I wanted to quit, man. I really, really did. On many, many occasions, I was like pulling my hair out. I was like 40K down in the hole. I was I'd like lost a few bob. It was scary, right?
Yeah.
And what I've learned through sticking with it, I had a mentor, right? His name was Scotty. Shout out Scott if you're listening. I remember one day when I was like lowest of the low, I was on the phone to Scotty and I was like, man, I just want to quit. I want to just pack everything in. Nothing's worked for me. I'm 8-9 months in and I'm in the red bad here. And he was like, mate, just stay in the fucking game. Just stay in the game.
Yeah.
And I did. And it came good for me. And that like, if I had known that at the start that, hey, look, I'm not going to come good for a year or two, I would have behaved very differently.
Yeah. So I can relate in terms of, I've never sort of lost money like that, but one thing that works for me is not overthinking, and that helps from not being distracted, but not overthinking and just doing. So I'm not a Notion guy. I'm not an over planner. I'm not too much of a forward thinker. I just in the moment make a plan. You might have seen it on my socials the other day, but the night before I just write everything out. I'm just very paper, pen, rip it off, new day. Pen, paper, rip it off, new day. And what that allows me to do is not overthink about what you might have done or what's coming or what's around the corner, but just to attack the moment stuff.
Yeah.
And the moment stuff builds, and the moment stuff moves you forward, and the moment stuff doesn't make you think about what you've done or what's to come. It's the stuff that needs doing, and then the doing gets the results. And then as long as the results are good, the revenue comes in eventually, you know. And then doing that repeatedly without overthinking it. Again, when people, you would have heard it as well, I'm not getting any views, right? Because you're focusing on the views.
Yeah.
Focus on the thing that you've just done. What would you mean? How much value did you just give in the thing that you did? How much commitment were you in within the video? Did you believe what you were talking about when you were making the sales call? Is all this in the moment, again, not thinking about what has been or also what's going on around you, just in the moment stuff and doing. That's the winner, is the doing.
Gary Vee, who is the GOAT, right? He, you know, you ever see his videos where he's like talking to somebody and they're like, Gary, I can't do this or whatever.
Yeah.
He was like, somebody said, oh, I'm posting videos and I've been doing it for like 11 months now and I'm still getting like 40 views.
Yeah.
And Gary was like, yeah, because your content's shit.
Yeah. Or as I'll say, you're boring.
It's not valuable. You're not giving someone something to watch.
There's a formula which I teach all of my members who are in my TikTok growth program. It's attention, solution, validation, conversion.
Nice.
You grab the attention, you instantly provide a solution which will validate you and eventually will lead to a conversion. And you just follow that. And then you are self-critical. Did you serve someone? Did you attack a pain point? Did you then provide a solution to the pain point? Or are you just a vanity creator that it's nothing? It's kind of meh, as I call it. I don't really know how I feel about it. You can never have someone sitting on a fence. You have to make people make a decision, whether it's an agreement or a disagreement. And I've just learned this, is that is the formula to getting attention around you, whether you're making sales, whether you just want to grow, whatever it is. It's, again, I think, going back to being authentic in your message and just being you, I think people now, they can smell bullshit. We are in a world where I think there's so much nonsense out there. Whether you've got experience or not, you're kind of a radar goes on, Not 100% sure on that. Not sure what their motive is. Whereas if you just give, even in-person networking, online, you know. And you can hear it in someone's voice as well. So I think also we're becoming very hyper aware of what's real and what's not. It's a crazy world, social media.
Wild. Hey, hope you're enjoying the interview so far with Aaron. As I forewarned you at the beginning of the episode, a lot of the points and takes on certain subjects can be probably triggering or annoying or perhaps put you off certain opinions. And that's fair enough. And if it is, totally understand. But I do hope that underneath certain things that you may have not agreed with, that you've learned some things from listening to Aaron. There's only about 5 minutes left in the episode. And in that 5-minute window, Aaron actually explains exactly how he helps people like you to create their first business. But what I want you to take from this episode broadly, and what I understood from speaking to Aaron, was to really take responsibility for what our actions are, irregardless of what's going on in the world, what's going on around us. We still have the responsibility to do what's best for us, to take the right actions, and to go in the direction that we feel we should. Alongside this as well, if you are starting, or if you are about to start, or if you have just started, I want you to think about this journey that you're embarking on and think about it in terms of 24 months. Apply yourself to this thing for 24 months. And I promise you, it will come good. Third thing, stop planning and just do. I like the way Aaron spoke about how he doesn't really overcomplicate the planning side. He leans more towards doing something that I think I actually could do a lot more of. I kind of plan things out and I say I'm going to do it here and I make a nice calendar. And yes, there's a time and a place, but sometimes it can be at the expense of the doing. So don't forget to just do. So take responsibility for what you're doing. Think about this project in terms of it in 24 months and what you can do in that period. Focus less on planning and just do. That's certainly some of the standout things that I took from speaking to Aaron. Let me know what stood out to you. Drop me a DM. Let me know what you took from it. I really want to know, by the way, if you took something from any episode at any time. It's really helpful when you message me and let me know what you've liked and why it was something that stuck out to you. So please do, if there was indeed anything at all. Enjoy the rest of the episode, and we'll catch you on the next one. Okay, so we've obviously highlighted that job equals shit, entrepreneurship equals good.
Yeah.
And whether you've pissed people off, whether you've inspired the person listening, we all know that there's a lot of people who are suffering silently, let's say, and they don't want to be there. They don't want to do what they're doing, right? How could they come to you and how could you help them? Let's talk about your breakout program and what that can offer somebody who has never, ever touched a business or hasn't got the slightest clue as to what to do.
The breakout program, I believe, although it's been incredibly successful within a year now, I believe I will be one of the most legit, authentic. I reckon I'm personally already hitting headlines. I've got another paper article out next week. I reckon my breakout program will also be so impactful because it's so real, it's so affordable. No one gets in. It's not a commodity. It's not an open commodity, like an open market commodity. But it literally is the transition of everything from your person, the navigation, the thought process, the self-mastery, the benchmark, the self-assessments, the business models, the testing, the financials. It is everything. Like, I'm so proud of it because I've spent so much money on actually building this out, and it's had such good success stories. Like one of my shout him out, Chris Bergen is like, so I have like great success stories, but he's one that really stands out because he's just followed the book. He started with me in a job, I can't remember what his job was, but now he is full-time in his media marketing agency. His reoccurring revenue, which has been consistent now, is between its fluctuation between 5.4 to about 5.6 a month. Fully in his business.
Easy.
He's full.
And that's plenty.
Because But he followed the blueprint and he made no excuses. He just went all in. And he's such a great success story. And he had an invite down to the VIP night. And he got like a t-shirt at the breakout when he left his job and all this kind of stuff. And it's just following what I say because I've done it. There is no BS about anything that I've done in terms of my whole navigation out into the employed world. And I showcase everything that I do. So it's about as real as you can get, but not everyone can get in. And it's not an open door to get in either.
I like that you've got that sort of rigor where it's not just like, hey, I'm just trying to get any old Tom, Dick or Harry to come in.
Mate, I could have made an absolute fortune. If I'd have let everyone in, I could have made $250,000.
Yeah.
I've had probably over 1,300 applicants to come in.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and it's very low price, by the way. It is going to high ticket beginning of November, by the way. It's been a year now. I've kept it very low. It was less than the washing machine. But now it's going high ticket in November. I could have made $250,000. But you know the problem with that? Because there'll be some people, well, if you could have made $250,000, you would have. No, because I'm not financially driven. Again, I don't need my program income to live my life. But I win on success stories because I know eventually in 2-3 years, I'll earn a fortune. Because I know that it's proven and I know that it's doing the job.
So can somebody go through that and come out the other side having a multitude of different businesses? Or is it like, hey, you'll come out and you'll have this type of business?
Yeah, because I'll change you as the person. Like, I'm very bullish, as you can probably tell now.
Yeah, that's what I wanted you to say.
Yeah, I don't... And also, I'll never have someone come on board. Like, there are subconscious questions that they get in like a testing phase that they have to go through, like on a discovery call, which I had 2 today before I saw you. I decide whether people work with me or not because it's my name.
Yeah.
I cannot have my name.
Yeah.
Like, and imagine this. So Aaron, why didn't you make $250,000 gross? Well, imagine me launching a program. And by the way, Jeff Bezos, the rich get richer because the poor think every opportunity is a scam. Oh, he's got a program. I never call it a course. It's a legitimate, in-depth, successful program. But imagine if you turned around to me and said, you ring me up. Hey, Aaron, how's 450 members getting on in your first intake? No idea. It's too many. Can't help them all. 4 have been successful. 4 against 450 in a load of applicants. Whereas you get the bigger educational companies that do 100 million, but then they've got Google reviews, they've got Property Tribe complaints, they've got Trustpilot complaints. Trustpilot complaints. I don't want that. I just want slow drip fed successes, because then when I've got 50, 60 of those, and then that's put into an awesome advert and a marketing campaign, and they're only good and they're legit success stories, the next intake is always full. The pipeline never drips, it's always drip feeding in. So
I love that. Yeah. I love that. And again, it kind of ties into the fact that you and I have a very shared mission, and I kind of look up to you in the way that you've got this, we both kind of preach the same message, and you have this extra sort of springboard for someone to then be like, right, I really want to make a change here. And you've kind of set that up for people, which I think is really cool.
Yeah.
I'm going to finish by saying one of the quotes that I saw from one of your videos that I thought was really, really cool. The goal isn't money. It's to spend every day as I wish.
Yeah. Time freedom is my biggest flex. Not having a Rolex, not materialistic things, not bothered about any of that. Again, because I'm doing me. I'm not bothered about showcasing. Imagine buying a Rolex, right? I use this example. And I go and buy a nice Submariner. And I book the Ivy restaurant, Ivy Asia. And I call over the waiter, and I'm really showing that Rolex. I mean, you can't wear a Rolex in London anyway, but in the Ivy, I'm really showing it. I'm only wearing it for other people because it's just a watch. It just tells the time. Yeah. I'm doing it for other people because I'm looking for other people to look at me wearing a Rolex so that they can perceive me, that I am someone. I'm not bothered by any of that. So I like the fact that, I have enough money consistently and sustainably to just get up, no worries, go to the gym, talk with who I want to talk with, do my thing, and then go to sleep content. And also I think my health long term without stresses will benefit me and my family because I'm not stressed. So to be able to do what I want every single day, and I think people are waking up to this, by the way.
That's sick, man. And I think if everybody led with that approach, we'd have a lot less people suffering, I think, and doing what they want. And I think that's sick. I'm going to leave your breakout program in the show notes for anyone who wants to explore that idea and see if they can pass the rigorous test to get in and actually make a big change in their life. Yeah, man, it's been sick having you on. Love this chat.
Dude, pleasure, and thanks so much for having me.
Fuck yeah.
Awesome.
Nice.
Amazing.
Dude, that was sick. I love that.